Okay. Good evening, everyone. This is January 3rd, 2024, Citizens Multimodal Advisory Committee meeting. Jackie, would you please take over and do the roll call, please? Thank you.
Hi, this is Lolita. Ann Silver, Damian Cole, Earl Brenelson, I'm sorry if I pronounced that wrong, Brenelson, Eric Ammerman,
Present.
Greg Newman,
Here.
Juan Martinez, Judy Stanfield. Thought I seen that. Okay.
Yeah, she's in the attendees list.
Okay.
Mhm.
Kelly Moore. Thought I seen Kelly. Yes. Lindsay Costello.
I'm here.
Michael Gotthard Hutchins,
Present.
Michael Lansborough, Michael May. I see you, Michael.
Good evening.
Thank you. Panna Stafford.
Here.
Ryan, thank you. Ryan Bernadette,
Here.
Sue Tin Chin,
Here.
and I see Damian Cole.
Hi.
Hi. And David Jacoman and Paul Hewen will not be attending this evening. That's the roll call.
Thank you so much. With that, I'm turning it over to Lindsay.
All right. So I guess we did our roll call to order. So today we have the approval of the agenda to start. Could I get a motion on that?
Sure. Motion to approve the agenda.
All right. Thanks, Ryan. We have a first from Ryan. Can I get a second, please?
Second.
All right. We have a second from Eric Ammerman. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, we approve tonight's agenda. Item 3, if anyone wants to read the big paragraph for me, because I definitely don't.
If you're participating via Zoom, to provide public comment during the meeting, please make sure your computer or device has a working microphone. Use the chat feature to submit a request to make a comment. When the time comes to make public comments, you will be invited to speak. If you are participating by telephone to provide public comment, you should have contacted RTC agency services prior to 4 p.m. yesterday and provided the telephone number you would be calling from, as well as the items you want to comment on. When the time comes to make public comments, you will be invited to speak.
Thank you. Do we have any public comment this evening?
I don't think so.
All right. Then item 5, moving on to the approval of the November 1st meeting minutes. Does anyone have any commentary before we vote? All right. Could I get a first and a second, please?
I'll move to approve.
Thank you, Greg. We have a first from Greg. Could I get a second?
Second
I'm sorry, who was that?
from Ryan.
Thank you, Ryan. All right. Any opposed? All in favor?
Aye.
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 And the November meeting minutes have been approved. All right, so now item 6, we are recommending approval of the bus stop amenities quarterly report. Who do we have speaking on that today?
This is Ed Park,
All right.
and there should be a PowerPoint presentation.
Not currently seeing it if you're the one sharing it, Ed.
Okay. See if I can. Let's see where it is. Ron, do you know what the folder was for this meeting? Where all the agenda items are?
Yeah, it's under the T drive, planning committee meetings.
Ed, I just sent you an email with the PowerPoint in it.
Okay.
Hopefully that helps you.
Haven't received it yet. Okay, CMAC.
And I can pull
Okay.
up the PowerPoint if you want me to.
I got it. I'm opening it. Let's see if I can share. Okay, can you see the PowerPoint?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So let's see. I go to the next one. All right. So the reason I'm here is as a requirement of Assembly Bill AB 214, the RTC is required to assemble a bus stop advisory committee so that the RTC can provide information and advice to the commission concerning construction. Well, the advisory committee, excuse me, can provide information to the board on construction, installation, maintenance of benches, shelters, and transit stops throughout our system. So we are using the CMAC committee to do that. So we will be making a bus stop presentation every quarter. Okay, and actually, interesting enough, I'll introduce myself. I'm Ed Park, Senior Transit Planner. I'll actually be retiring this month, so Sai Sun will be replacing me, and she'll be making the presentations to CMAC going forward. So that would be for the next quarter. Okay, I wanted to go over some of the major projects for bus stops. In the future, this presentation is going to be a lot shorter, but this is kind of to recap some of the major things that have happened over the past few years. The largest project was the bus stop improvement and connectivity program. There we go. All right, so the RTC Commission directed the RTC back in December 2017 to really make a concerted, significant effort to improve bus stops. And one of the reasons for this was, there was an issue regarding a bus stop. It was a pretty bad bus stop. It was on a patch of dirt. There was no sidewalk. There was no bus pad. There was no shelter. So they were really concerned that, a large percentage of our passengers are disabled or senior or people with mobility challenges. So they were really concerned that, we're providing bus service, but how do they get to the bus stop if there's no sidewalk, if there's no shelter, if there's no benches where someone who has a mobility challenge can sit down and take a rest. So the RTC allocated close to $6 million, and this was about a 5-year project. And at the end of it, between 2018 2023, the RTC improved 97 bus stops, and not just bus stops, but we improved the sidewalk access to the bus stops, and when necessary, the signalized intersection improvements. So it's not just about, building a pad and a bench at the bus stop. If there's no way to get there, obviously that's of no use, especially someone in a wheelchair. So I wanted to show you some of the examples of the improvements. This bus stop is on Kitski and Apple for routes 9 and 13. As you can see in the before photo, it's a pole, one of our temporary poles, and we didn't have permission to stick the pole behind the sidewalk, and so for a long time it was just a pole, and that doesn't look good. There's nowhere for anyone to sit. And if there's a wheelchair, the wheelchair is taking up the entire sidewalk. So it's difficult for people to get around. So as you can see in the after photo, we created a pad. There's a bench here. At some point in the future, oh, actually, it's already happened. We installed a shelter here. So this is an old photo. It doesn't show you the brand new shelter we installed there. This is another example across the street on Kiski and Plum. On the top, once again, just the pole there. And then later on, you can see a large, nice pad, a bench. And if ridership increases at this stop, we'll be also adding a shelter here. Here's another example. You know, this is along North Virginia. A lot of cars go 55, 60 miles an hour here. You can just imagine someone sitting or standing by the side of the road. There's not much lighting here. It's pretty dangerous. You know, there's no place to sit except for the rocks. But of course, that's not appropriate seating. So in the after photo, you can see a little bit of sidewalk access to the crosswalk, and then a pad there that's protected. And later on, we placed a bench there. Another example, you know, a pole in the dirt, and then we added sidewalk and a pad. And this is by the GSR on 2nd Street. And this is one of the busiest stops we have. It's right across from the Walmart. And so you can see it was just a pole and a bench. And then we added a nice pad. And at some point, we'll install a shelter there as well. And these are just other examples. I'll just skip through these real quick. And sometimes, you know, if there's a wheelchair getting off the bus, you know, there's landscaping between the curb and the sidewalk. So in this instance, we just filled it in with concrete so that when the bus stops here and the ramp comes down, the wheelchair can just flow smoothly right onto the cement and to the sidewalk. So that was it was called the Bus Stop Improvement and Connectivity Program. It was a huge investment by the RTC. I don't think many transit agencies have made as much of an investment in their bus stops. So it was a pretty impressive program with almost 100 bus stops improved. And then real quickly, going to Hubbard Way Rapid Station across from the Pepper Mill. This is one of our most busiest stops as well, with 268 average weekday boardings. And before, it was just a small shelter. A lot of people were waiting in the parking lot of the adjacent business. Obviously, businesses don't like that. So now we have this incredible full rapid station with a lot of seating, a lot of places for people to wait. And so in the future, you know, we don't have as many big projects as this. You know, it's just going to be a quarterly report. So, you know, we'll be going over some more minor improvements to bus stops. Like for September and November, you know, we had 6 benches installed. Graffiti was removed at 14 stops. And most of this is done by our contractor, Keolis. So I'd definitely like to credit them with doing most of the work for our bus stops. And, you know, there's you know, minor things like missing shelter panels, damaged shelter ads. And it's just an ongoing process where we're constantly improving and as well as fixing up bus stops. Are there any questions?
Hey, Ed, this is Ryan. First of all, congratulations on your retirement. And second of all, how much budget is remaining out of that $6 million for all these improvements?
The entire project is completed. So
Okay.
we've spent the 5.97. There aren't any plans at the moment for more improvements, but I will let you know that every year prior to this large project, the engineering department has some funds left over. And usually what we can do every year is build bus stop pads anywhere between 4 and 7 at 4 and 7 bus stops. And we hope to continue that program now that the big project is completed.
Okay, very cool. Well, great work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Slightly more inconsequential, but are there any plans to like put before and after photos somewhere on the RTC website?
Yeah, we can definitely look into that.
Yeah, because I was on the Kimley Horn team that originally assessed all those stops. So it's really
Oh,
cool
okay.
to see the before and after. It's like a little blast from the past. So
Yeah. Thank you for your work too.
yeah, it was fun.
Hi, Ed. This is Pana. Thank you so much for your bus stop improvements, and I'll take some time and go through all the before and after pictures because I was really enjoying them. I take my bike on the Virginia line and I get off at Liberty Street, which is a really nice rapid station. Where the door opens is in line with the sidewalk, but I have to get down and get my bike off the bus. And then the sidewalk is above me, and it's always stressful to get my bike off the bus, get the rack up. I mean, that alone is like a lot of effort and coordination. Then I have to get my bike up on the sidewalk, and I actually have to climb up the sidewalk there. My other option is to turn around and wheel the bike in the street in front of the bus until I get to the low part of the sidewalk. Obviously, I'm still here. I'm safe. Everything is okay. I know the bus driver can see me, but it's very stressful every time managing that. And the station is so nice. And I just wanted to put that out there in case there's a way to make it easier for people with bikes to get off at those elevated rapid stations.
What the reason those rapid stations are so high is we used to have these buses that couldn't lower themselves to a lower level. For a lot of the stations along South Virginia Street, we actually have a project to actually lower those stations now that we have new buses. So I'm not sure if that includes Liberty, but definitely a lot of those stations will be changed. The levels of those stations will be changed to lower them.
Thank you.
Does anyone else have any commentary before we vote?
Well, yeah, I had my hand up.
Go on, Damien.
Hello. Oh, hi, yes. Thanks, Ed, for the presentation. Had a couple of questions. Now, the RTIP, which I believe we're also going to be voting on tonight. I'm not sure what exactly we're going to be voting on, but it was already for the micro mobility downtown corridor project that RTC has put through, approved, and so has the city of Reno. Are there, what extent do you know, might there be any plans for bus stop improvement on those corridors that have been approved and that we're going to be acknowledging today? Do you know if any of those bus stops on, for instance, 5th Street, what are the other ones? There's 5th Street, there's, I'm looking through the map right here, 5th Street, Vine. It also looks like there's some other projects that are going to be approved for Lemon Valley, Sun Valley, Mill Street, and several other projects. Do you know if any improvements for the bus stops are going to be included with those RTIPs for the next 5 years? Is it already in the plans, or is that something that they have to fit in and look into?
I'm not aware of downtown, the micro mobility plans, if they have any bus stop improvements involved in them. But whenever there is a reconstruction of a road that involves bus stops, they do contact us, and then we do submit our recommendations for how to improve it, including building bus stop pads. And so you mentioned Mill Street. So we are building bus stop pads for Mill Street wherever there's bus stops without bus stop pads. So definitely, every time a road is constructed, whether it's RTC, NDOT, City of Reno, they contact us and we provide them with recommendations for improving our bus stops.
And the reason why I was asking that is because, particularly on 5th Street, the current protected lanes that have been put in there already, they're going to be improved further as part of the RTIP, has several bus stops that if the actual if the actual infrastructure, okay, so right now, like for instance, on 5th and Arlington, they have kind of like painted and bumpy, temporary protected intersection for the bike network and for the car network, right? And daily, every time I go on the number 4 that heads up 7th Street, we take 5th Street and it turns onto Washington. As it's going over the bus stops on 5th Street heading westbound, the bus invariably, without question, goes over the bumps to get to the sidewalk so that way they can lower the bus down and bring the wheelchair ramp out and everything. If that were an actual curb made of concrete, like an actual protected intersection, there would be no way that they could do that. The only solution that I can come up with in my mind is to extend that bus pad out and essentially make it a floating bus stop on both sides. And that would have to be for anywhere that RTC is planning on creating protected lanes, including the 6th Street project, the Vine Street project, anywhere that there's buses and bikes combined together. You're going to have to end up making floating bus stops. In other words, put the bus stop out in front of the bike lanes and then put the bike lanes behind the bus stop, which can only really be done. Sorry to make the comment long, but you can only do that if you raise the bike lanes up to sidewalk level. Otherwise, you have to have a ramp going down from the sidewalk, then have the ramp going back up to the bus pad that's floating. And I've talked to RTC engineers about this, and they keep on bringing up drainage. It's possible to fix this with steel plates, but they say, no, we can't do that, even though they already put them on 4th Street and other things. So I just want to make that comment that if they do look into that, please try to, I know and I understand you're retiring in about a month, but if there's any way to pass the word on to whomever is carrying the torch, they're going to have to look at that, because it's a big safety hazard right now. I've had a bus jam right in front of me as I'm coming down the bike lane. They don't stop and wait. They get right in front of me, and then I have to honk my horn and tell them, hey, human being here, I'm trying to get my bike around you, and I'm squeezed in between the curb and the bus while they're trying to lower the ramp. They're not supposed to do that. State law says that bikes get priority. It's not my law. That's the state. So they have to do something to fix this. So anyway, just wanted to bring that up, and thank you once again for the presentation.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, we'll definitely make note of that. And City of Reno has been pretty good about asking us for feedback on the micro mobility. And I know what you're talking about on 5th Street. They actually blocked one of our bus stops there, with these things that keep cars from, using the bicycle lanes. And we actually had to have them shorten it so that our bus could go in there and serve that bus stop. But we'll definitely work on that in the future.
Yeah, floating bus stops. Great solution. Great solution. That's where they bring the bus stop out to the street, away from the sidewalk. So they use it all over the world.
Okay, in the interest of time, we're going to move on to the voting, if that's all right, Damon.
Oh yeah, I'm not exactly sure what we're voting on.
We are just voting on recommending approval for the bus stop amenities quarterly report that Ed just gave us.
Oh, the report. Okay.
Yeah, and I did actually have a hopefully
Oh, I'm
relevant
sorry,
question.
Michael. Go ahead.
But Yeah, I noticed that on the ongoing improvements, one of the things listed was the reinstalling of the shelter at West 7th and Elgin that was temporarily removed due to development. Did that actually come out of the budget for this project? Is that something the developer reimbursed? Essentially, was this we had to take away what could have been an improvement somewhere else to accommodate a developer?
Yeah, I know exactly what the bus stop you're talking about near Elgin. And fortunately, every time there's a new development and there's a bus stop impacted, they are required to create an improvement on that. So it was totally financed by the developer.
I just wanted to show right here. This is an example of a
Okay,
floating bus stop.
Damien, please
Yes.
please don't hijack. I can guarantee you Ed knows what that is.
Wow. I thought we were still on comment.
Yeah,
not
but you
hijacking
better,
anything.
yeah, you are.
How? I was just trying to show him an example of a floating bus stop. That's not
I can
hijacking.
guarantee it's Ed's job. He knows what a floating bus stop is.
Oh, okay.
And I'm
I'm
really
sorry.
trying to get the motion out so we can move on to the next presentation, please.
All right.
Thank you.
I'm not saying we can't. I'm just I thought I would just share.
I'll make a motion to approve Ed's presentation to us.
Thank you, Greg.
Lindsay.
Can I get a second?
I second.
All right, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, we approve the bus stop. What's it called? Bus stop amenities quarterly report. And thank you, Ed. Anne, please turn your microphone off. You are echoing for me. Thank you. And so we are going to move on to recommending the approval of the proposed amendment number 2 to the RTIP. If I believe Graham is going to be doing that again this time.
Yes, thank you, Lindsay. Good evening, everybody. Today, as Lindsay mentioned, I'll be sharing a proposed amendment to both the Regional Transportation Plan and the Regional Transportation Improvement Program. So during this presentation, I'll be covering proposed amendments, as I mentioned, to both these documents, sort of wrapped into one presentation. They are 2 separate documents developed by the RTC, and I'll give a quick background during the next slide. But each amendment will likely be added to the board agenda as 2 separate actions, but I'll also likely be covering them both in a combined presentation, similar to how I'm doing today. So again, the RTP and RTIP are 2 separate documents. Both are required by federal regulation, and inclusion in each document is one of the steps necessary in making a project eligible for federal funding. The RTP is a long-range plan that establishes the region's vision, goals, and objectives as they relate to transportation. Projects are identified and prioritized in the RTP and advanced for implementation via the RTIP. The RTP is generally the first step in the project implementation process, sort of as you see from the graphic here. The RTIP is a short-range program of scheduled and fiscally constrained transportation improvement projects. Again, these are based on the prioritization established in the long-range document. Prioritization can change over time, which is part of what can trigger an amendment, which I'll cover shortly. The RTP is strictly a programming document meant to show how federal funding will be spent, and it must include all federally funded and regionally significant transportation projects, regardless of funding source, and carried out by any agency within the MPO boundary. So just a little bit of detail about the RTP. The current version is the 2050 RTP, which was adopted March of 2021. It was first amended in January of 2023, and the proposed amendment represents the second amendment to the document. The RTC has also kicked off work towards completing a full update to the document, which is projected for adoption in March of 2025 to meet federally designated deadlines. An amendment is required in this case to add new projects and to change the project schedule for other existing projects. Additionally, one of the projects triggered an air quality conformity analysis, which is another reason an amendment was necessary, and the project was found to be in conformance with national air quality standards. As I mentioned, all federally funded and regionally significant projects must be included in the RTP as well as the RTIP prior to implementation. Inconsistencies in the projects between the two documents or between descriptions in the documents versus how they are implemented shall not be advanced. There is some wiggle room here since the level of detail is not consistent between the RTP and the RTIP, and the RTIP does not function as a reconciliation document, so there are sometimes minor inconsistencies in things like schedule or budget. But generally speaking, projects are on hold until these documents are updated as appropriate. As for the RTIP, the current version is the FFY 2023 to 2027 RTIP, which was adopted in August of 2023. It was already amended just a couple months ago in November of 2023, and so the proposed amendment also represents the second amendment to the document. Similar to the RTP, an amendment is required in this case to add projects, but to also remove others consistent with some of the changes that are being made to the RTP. I'll go over those nuances momentarily. All projects included in the proposed RTP amendment are also included in the RTIP amendment, but the RTIP amendment also includes additional project changes that were not necessary to be included in the RTP amendment. This primarily has to do with that difference in level of detail between the two documents that I was talking about. The RTP is generally more high level, whereas the RTIP generally includes more detail as projects move closer to implementation. So because we decided to use this amendment as an opportunity to sort of clean up project information in the RTIP, I won't go over every little detail and every single project, but I will cover the highlights. But if anyone has any questions about a project I'm not covering here, please let me know. So I'll mention that the Butch Cassidy Extension project, it was the one that triggered the air quality conformity analysis requirement. This is both a new project not previously included in the RTP or RTIP, and it is considered a capacity project, which is also what triggered the air quality analysis. The project, as it's proposed, would extend the western terminus of Butch Cassidy Drive to the intersection of Mount Rose Highway and Thomas Creek Road. The project is being amended into the RTP and RTIP. Additionally, the City of Reno recently approved what they refer to as the Downtown Micromobility Network of Streets, Group 1. The RTC has been working closely with the City of Reno on this network and is taking the necessary steps to implement them. So micromobility projects on Virginia Street and the Lake Sinclair Evans corridors were not previously included in the RTP or the RTIP, and are being added as part of the amendment process. Similarly, Center Street and 3rd Street were not included as part of the approved network and have been removed from the RTIP, which only extends through FFY 2027. However, the model years for each were updated from 2025 to 2030 in the RTP. So that's why they're being removed from the RTIP. But they're still in the RTP, and those will be reevaluated as part of that update that I mentioned. Vine Street's schedule was updated to match the other projects in the network, and the budget was adjusted based on current estimates. I'll also note that there is a slight error in your agenda packet related to Vine. I noted that it was removed from the RTIP, when in fact it remains a part of the RTIP. Vassar, primarily on account of everything else in that micromobility network taking priority, has been moved back slightly in timeline. It is still in the RTIP, but the model year has been updated from 2025 to 2030. Some other noteworthy projects here include an update to the East 6th Street Multimodal Improvements Project, which recently received award for a federal discretionary grant. That was the Safe Streets and Roads for All. This funding source is being applied as part of the RTIP amendment. There's no need to amend this project in the RTP because the RTP does not specify the funding source, and this project was already identified in the proper timeframe. Additionally, the RTC recently developed a program management plan for its allocation of FTA 5310 funds, which allows the RTC to distribute fuel tax revenue to local transportation providers of services for seniors and individuals with disabilities. And this in turn allows the RTC to spend the entire apportionment of the 5310 funds, which were subsequently applied to a new project in the RTIP, the Flex Ride and Access Expansion Vehicle Project. Finally, I'll mention that during the last RTIP amendment, the Washoe County School District had relinquished some transportation alternative set-aside funds, necessitating the removal of the project from the RTIP. Those funds are proposed to be reallocated to the City of Reno, which will be implementing the same project as it is able to get around some of the logistical issues that gave Washoe County School District trouble. Just some final notes on the amendment process. The proposed amendments require layers of approval from the RTC board, NDOT, FHWA, and FTA. The public comment period has been noticed and was opened December 27th and runs through January 16th. There will be a public hearing as part of the RTC board meeting on January 19th. And of course, we're looking for comments from our advisory committees, beginning with you all. So with that, I will take any questions.
All right, I currently don't see any hands up. There we go. Greg?
I just had one question for you, Grant. How many grants and what is your approval percentage on the grants that you guys apply for? Because through the years, you've mentioned many times that you've applied for and got a grant for this or that, and it's impressive. I just was wondering what your close rate is, and I assume that's in every year part of your deal.
Yeah, I don't know that anybody's actually kept tabs on the numbers between all the various grants in the various departments that we apply for, but as for the SS4A grant, we're 1 out of 2. We did apply last year and did not get it. We received some feedback from the feds and really took that to heart and applied it to this year's round of applications, and we were successful. So I think that feedback certainly helped, and our narrowed focus in the grant application certainly helped. So,
right. Nice work. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Damien?
Sorry, Damien, it looks like you're on mute, but before you speak, I will mention that at the very least, as part of the East 6th Street design, which was the basis for our Safe Streets and Roads for All grant application, floating bus stops are part of the consideration. The design is not final yet, but that is part of the consideration.
Okay, cool. And my hand was raised from the previous thing. I didn't actually have it raised, but that's good to know.
Okay.
And but real quick, I just wanted to mention something that I learned about Zoom right now. When I decide to share a screen, it ends up broadcasting it to everyone. I didn't realize it did that. I'm used to Discord, where when I share my screen, it replaces my personal webcam with whatever I'm sharing. So, Anne, I just wanted to apologize for that. I didn't realize that when I shared that picture of the floating bus stop, it would like erase everything that was going on and like start showing mine. Sorry about that.
I appreciate that, Damien. Thank you. Does anyone else have any comments or questions for Graham? All right, could we get a motion to recommend approval for the proposed amendment 2 to the RTP and the RTIP, please?
Hi, this is Kelly Orr. I recommend and approve.
All right, we have a first from Kelly. Could I get a second? I see a hand from Ann Silver and all approved.
Aye.
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 Any opposed?
Aye.
Hearing none, we recommend approval of the amendment number 2 for the RTIP and the RTP. Do we have any member announcements or agenda items this evening? Nope.
This is Sue. There's for the League of American Bicyclists, there's a bike summit in Washington, D.C. I think today's the last day for early bird registration if anybody is interested in going.
Very cool. Thank you, Sue. Do we have any RTC staff members items tonight?
No more
Nope.
items.
All right. Any public comment for the end of the evening?
I don't see any.
All right. Could I get a motion for adjournment, please?
Motion to adjourn?
All right.
Second.
I think I saw a first from Greg and a second from Anne. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed?
Aye.
Hearing none, we are adjourned at 6:13 p.m. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Evening.
Good night.
Thank you.